All right. Good morning, everybody. Today is Daf Kuf. We got to the mission on the bottom. I'll take 8 ounces, by the way. All right. So it's Sunday, by the way. It's Shem Hoshana Rabbah. We'll call it for 6:15. It's the last of the early days. So 6:15 till 7:15 is Daf Yomi, and then 7:15 is davening. For Hoshana Rabbah should probably be out of here by around 8:30, 8:45ish. Yeah, usually 8. Right. And then we'll also to be determined what we're going to do over the holiday of Simchas Torah. Fine.
So 6:15.
6:15 a.m. Zok the Mishnah on the bottom side. Shuma dayanim shepitzcha shus sifa shtus, and away we go, and away we went. Machar and butter. So says the Mishnah, the judges, the dayanim from the basin, they make an evaluation. If it was off by more than a sixth, it was the devalued or added to the value, or sixth. Machar and butter. The sale is nullified, right? It's no, right? It's violated certain overcharging or undercharging, and therefore the sale is batal. Machran kayim. If it's based in sold it, even if they sold it for more, it works. Why? Right? Based in is not an individual. Based in has special powers and authority, and therefore that which they go ahead and even if, despite the fact that they overcharge, but if they get a sale, then that's what the sale price is about. So you get us but if there was a public announcement, right, and they publicize the sale, then afilu machro shavamana masayim or shavamasaim mana. If they publicize that even they sold something worth 100 for 200 or something worth 200 for 100, machron kaim, then it works. So that was Rishon Gamliel. So since Rishon Gamliel was the first one, and then the Tanna Kama was the one who says you can't do it by more than a sixth. However, unless you go ahead and you publicize it. So Zaktibar Iboilu. So the question was asked, Shaliach, come on. What about somebody who's selling? Now so far we discussed an almana who goes ahead and sells the basically the estate for herself. Right, we have based in sells, right, the property of the Yershin for the Amana. So what about a Shaliach goes in and sells it, right? Let's say somebody sells on behalf of the Yershin. Thank you very much. So Shaliach, come on. Rav Amar, did I miss an Amar? No. So come on. So Rav Amar, Rav Nachman, Shaliach Hidayer. So Rav said the name of Rav Nachman. The shaliach is just like the dayanim. In other words, because we said before that the woman, even if she sold, if it was 101, she sold for 100, it's no good. Here, even the Tanna Kama says you got a sixth, you got up to a sixth to be offered, right? So Rav says shaliach is kadayan. Rav Shmuel Bar Bizdam Rav Nachman Kalmana. No, we cut the shaliach no slack. Rav Nachman shaliach kadayan and madayin allowed the didu. Shaliach not allowed the didu. Just like the dayan, they're not doing it for themselves. So to the shaliach is not doing it for himself. So therefore, we allow him to be a sixth off. The Afuki Amana takes the Ramana the didu, who is when she sells it of the Yerush and she's selling it for her own benefit. Rav Shmuel Bar Bizdam Rav Nachman Kalmana.
Talking about karka or
karka.
Easy. How about the 1/6? Is that karka or?
Yeah, we're talking the karka.
Oh, okay.
So
you have to publicize.
You're supposed to publicize.
How about with Altalin? No.
We don't. They don't take the metalton to sell from the Yerush, right? Like a widow, just like shliach is an individual. Based in the rabbinate, because there's multiple people, it's not just one individual, and therefore she's the shaliach is more like the amana. The hilchasa shaliach kalmana, and Allah is the shaliach is like an individual, like the amana, and therefore we don't cut any slack, not even six. The ma'ishna mihad. Now, what about this case of a shaliach? Let's say go ahead and take truma for him. So tarim kedas balamayis. He goes ahead, he takes it. Das balabayis v'mini yadeh das. If he doesn't know how the Balabayas would have wanted to go ahead and be Tareh, He takes the average, which is Echa Mechamishim, which is 1/50th or 2%. Piches Asara, a Hoisiv Asara, if he adds a little bit, or a tenth, or takes back, Chuma still works, right? If it does 1/40th or 1/60th, still works. So why over there do you get to be off? It's supposed to be 1/50. You take off 1/40th or 1/60th, it still works. And over here, we say, even if you're off a little bit, it doesn't work. So Hasam Kevandika the Tarim Kai Ba'ayin Rav Ika the Tarim Ba'ayin Yafa. Over there, when it comes to Truma, some people give generously, some people give stingily, right? The miserly. So right? Over there, they say, okay, I thought you were a generous person, or I thought you were a cheap person, but he's still doing within the realm of normal. But over here, Tausu, it's a mistake. I didn't just sign to be shliach to make a mistake. So therefore, a shliach, we would cut no slack when it comes to the sale of property. But when it comes to truma, then it could be go within the range of normal. And Amarav Huna Bar Chanina, Amarav Nachan Al Kedir Chachamim. The halacha is like the Chachamim that we said in our Mishnah that you have up until a sixth. And our Rishon Gamliel says, no. Makov Beis and Yafa, even more than a sixth, you can make a mistake. So halacha is like the Chachamim. The less layer Rav Gamliel Makov Beis and Yafa. Rav Gamliel doesn't hold this. It's Rav Nachman, excuse me, right? Yeah, I'm Rav Nachman, right? So I said, the less later Rav Nachman, Makov Beis and Yafa. Rav Nachman doesn't know this concept of Makov Beis and Yafa. Of Amar Rav Nachman of Shmuel. Yisayimim Shabal Lichlik B'Nichsei Avihan. Orphans that come to go ahead and divide the nechasim of their father, based in Ma'amidim Lehem Apotropos, who burden Lehem Chelik Yafer. Based in appoints an administrator to the estate who goes ahead and selects each one of them, either with the cash or whatever it is, nice portions. So they get older, then they go ahead and make a macha. They could go ahead and protest and say, "Hey, you guys, divide when we were younger, but I'm not happy with it." Because why? Racham there says, no, you can't protest. Why? Because the concept of Makov Beis and Yafa. So you see over here, Rav Nachman does hold this concept of Makov Beis and Yafa. So our answer is like Kasha. If there was a mistake, then you can go ahead and protest. We override the Makov Beis and Yafa like in our Mishnah. But if there's no mistake, then you can't go back on it. So Gemara says, right? If that's a mistake, so what's this guy protesting, when he was 7 years old and based in chose for him? So the answer is Baruchos. It says Baruchos. Location. He was upset with his location. So there, even though there wasn't a mistake that was done by Beis Din, but he wanted to protest. Hey, I didn't like where you guys, bought the land for me. I should have been in a different neighborhood. And he says, no, Makov Beis and Yafa, you can't go ahead and protest there. Fine. Yes, Rav Dimi Omar. When Rav Dimi said, he said a Maisa. There was a Maisa. The Asa Rebbe Kediver Chacham, and Rebbe ruled like the Chachamim that only up to a 6 you have a mistake. So I'm the fun of Prato Beno Shel Rabbi Elazar ben Prato Ben Beno Shel Rabbi Prato Gadol. Right? Seems they're named after their grandfathers, right? So he said in his name, in Cain Makoch Beis and Yafa. Why'd you only rule up to a 6th? Right? It should be more. You can and you can't go back on it. Rebbe as a Maisa, and then Rebbe was Chayzer. He says, oh, okay, fine. Even though, despite the fact that say they made a mistake, they were 25% off, right? Which is more than a 6th. So therefore, it's Chayzer and says, oh, since Beis Din sold it, therefore it stands. So that was Rav Dimi Masniach. That was Rav Dimi's version, and Rav Safna Masniach, he taught this version. Maisa Bikesh Rebbe Lasais Kedir Chamim. I just stressed the wrong word. He says, Maisa Ubikesh Rebbe Lasais Kedir Chamim. Right? Rebbe wanted to rule. He didn't rule yet, but he wanted to rule, like the Chamim. Then in other words, let's say they're off by 25%. To say, okay, the sale is invalid. And Amar Lafada Prato Shel Benosha Rebbe Elazar ben Prato. Ben Benosha Rebbe Prato Gadol. You can't Makov Beis and Yafa. You can't overrule that sale because there's the concept of Makov Beis and Yafa, and therefore, since he was told there, therefore he didn't end up ruling. He was about to rule it, and then therefore he said, no, you know what, the sale stands. So Leiman Ba Kamifli. Let's say this is the difference between Rav Dimi and Rav Safra. Mar Savar Tabadavar Mishnah Chayzer. One held the first one that if you make a mistake in something which is in the Mishnah, then you be Chayzer. Overrule the din. Say okay, Makoch Beis in Yafeh. Well, Mar Savar ain't a Chayzer. Well, no. Once it's ruled, you can't go back on it. Says no. The Kol Yamata Badavar Mishnah Chayzer. Really, everybody holds. If it was you make a mistake at something which is favorish in a Mishnah, then Chayzer. This is never a second. Okay. Mar Savar Hachi Havi Maisa. Mar Savar Hachi Havi Maisa. Right. And one held that this was the Maisa, and the other one held that this was the Maisa. I was just wondering. It was taught in the Mishnah because it knows the Maisa. Our case is a machlokas, right? And we just ruled earlier Chachamim, and here. The normally is a Talmud Davar Mishnah is something which is written beferish. In other words, this is the halacha without machlokes. But here it's a machlokes, so you have to sort of I guess understand what it means. Something which is a Talmud Davar Mishnah.
Saying that even if Basin was off by more than a sixth,
you don't overrule it.
You don't overrule it.
Correct. That was how we ruled here. And now that's considered to be a Davar Mishnah. My only question is, I don't understand.
You go according to Rabbi Shimon.
So my question is that A, it's the machlokes in the Mishnah, and B, we just said earlier that they come to the Shitas, the Rav Nachman says, but fine. But anyways, they would rule like Rav Shimon Gamliel, who holds Makoch Beis in Yafin. Fine. And number Rav Yosef Armalasa the Zavni the Zavina. Achrai say asked me so earlier, and a widow who goes and sells it, if it was taken back by creditors, then the achrayis is upon none other than the Yisayim, because it was their estate. Based in the Zavin achrayis, Yasmi also similarly based and sold it. It turns out it wasn't the father's after all, so they can go back to the Yisayim, to the orphans, to collect their money back. So the Gemara says pshita, it's obvious. So the Gemara says no. Amana leitzrichle, lamana halacha. You're right. We didn't need to teach it. Yitzrichle beidin. We had to overlay the case of Beis right? Maldim just said kol the Zavin. Anything that goes when Basin goes and sells and people buy it there, so it's publicized, and therefore since it's publicized, so therefore maybe you think that you can't go back to the assignment. Kamash Malad, you can go back to the assignment. Fine. Rashid Gamliel says, no, even if it's more than a sixth, the sale is valid because Makoch Beis in Yafeh. The ad comment until how much? Rav Huna bar Yehuda, Rav Sheshes ad palga until 50%. And Tana Malachi, similarly, we learned we have some prices supported. Amar Rav Shingol, based in Shemachu Shavim Asayim b'mana. Oh, Shavim Asayim Machan Kayim. But if he sells something worth 100 for 200 or 200 for 100, i.e., it's off by 50, then it is Kayim. Although if you look at it one way, right, it's worth 100, it's 100%, right? But you have to look at the other way, right? So both ways, you have to look at the opposite, so in order to get that 50%. Fine. Based in Shamachru, below Hachraza. So based in, they sold it without making an announcement. It's like something which was done, right, which is taught explicitly in the Mishnah.
What the purpose of that first?
In order to get the best price. In order to get the best price. So maximize the price in order to they're selling on behalf of the Yorship.
On the ocean, the most
right. So if you try and go ahead and sell the Chicago Public Library very quietly to a local organization and nobody knows about it, then you're only going to get 400,000. But if you're exposed and then all of a sudden everyone knows about it, then 800,000. Right, fine.
So you give a chance to everybody.
Exactly.
Okay.
So
the process is 30 days, right?
Yeah, that was pointed out before. It doesn't, we don't touch on that today, but I think we mentioned it last time. Now, you have to go back on it. So Nasu, it's a mistake. That's now we're going to Mishnah. Shuma Yisayim Shleishim Yom. When you valid for the Yisayim, it's 30 days. Shuma Hekdesh, and it's for something for Hekdesh. It's going to be sold. The money is going to go to the base of Mikdash. Shishim Yom, 60 days. Therefore, we go ahead and we announce right in the morning and in the evening. So the Gemara says, if it was from that, that's maybe only a shaliach when a shaliach is selling something for the Yisrael, or the shaliach is selling for Hekdesh. About Beis Din, but maybe Beis Din doesn't have to. Kamash Malon, Beis Din also does. Esvei Rav Ashi LaMeimar. So Rav Ashi has a question on Meimar. Shum hadayanim. So he just said before. Let's get a Meimar's halacha. So Meimar's halacha was Beis Din that sold without a achraza is a mistake. Doesn't work. Now, let's see our Mishnah. Right? If they went ahead and they evaluated, it was more or less than a sixth, then macham bato. Pa shava b'shava. But if it was the right price, macham kayim, then it's okay. So my lav the law achrus. We see it, even if they didn't evaluate it. In other words, they didn't go or announce it. They didn't go ahead and announce it, and they got the right price, right? So you just, if you don't announce it, automatically it's no good, right? You didn't announce it, even though they would have come to the same price, right? So my delay achas. When it's low b'dachas, no, we're talking about a case we announced it, and that's how they got shabbat b'shabbat. Versus hamad seifa b'dachas, have the reisha b'delay achas. But the seifos will soon see. We're talking about a case where they did announce it. And therefore, the reisha where they did announce it, it must be the reisha they did announce it. The seifos says, if asri geras b'karas, if they went ahead and made a proclamation, an announcement, afilu machur shava mana b'masayim, hashav masayim money, they still saying for 100 for 200, 200 for 100, machur kayim, then the mechira is kayim. So since the safe is talking over the announce it, this ratio is where they didn't announce it. So why is it machur kayim in the ratio? So they didn't announce it. So I thought you may see at the count. Like Hasha, kam b'dvarim shemachrizin alan. One is talking about is certain things that you need to announce. And if you did announce that, then the sale is bottled. That's the name of Salah. But if there are other things where you're not supposed to announce, so then you don't go ahead and announce it. And what is that? If they sell avadim or metaltlin, let's say movable objects, let's say they inherited movable objects and they might go bad or something like that, you have to go ahead and sell it, or shtaros, or loan documents for collections. And why these three things? So avadim tamamai. So shema yishmo v'yivarchu.
So land because it returns. Land is not the same because it returns after.
Land you have to announce. Land you have to announce.
Right, but I'm saying you have because of the 50 years, no, that that.
But so announce it's right.
Comes back to the family.
So over here it says, all right. So what's the reason why about them? Because perhaps they're going to go over here, shema yishmo, and they'll run away. Right, servants heard they're being sold and they're going to flee. So therefore, we don't publicize when we sell avad. Right? They hear that, hey, they're selling their jewelry collection, so people might go ahead and steal it.
Let's
Or sometimes we do announce, sometimes we don't. Doesn't matter what the asset is. When it comes to paying the head tax or paying your income tax, I guess the IRS, right? Today's coming up, right? So then we take the head tax, right? People have to take. October 15th is like the last. Yeah. Those people get those people get their K1s late, right? And also for mezainas, sustenance they need support, they can't wait 30 days. Or the kvura for burial, they can go ahead and they sell it quickly without any sort of delay of announcement. Some places don't announce, and other places do announce. Why would they not announce? You never want that announcement in the Hardia. Why? So right? He thought it literally because they're experts. They don't do announcements because they always get the market price. However, I'm a little you made the deed officially. This explains me that what Rav Nachman says. Mishum. Right? When they go ahead and they sell assets of the orphans, it's like they're going to have these auctions, right? These tax sale auctions, right? And they get a discount. So they're taking advantage of the assignment. So people would frown upon those that went to these auctions. So therefore, basically, if you announce it, you're a bad person if you go ahead and take advantage of the people lower down. And therefore, they won't announce it in Nahardia. Fine. And Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel, Metaltalin Shel Yisayman, the metaltalin move objects, when they inherit something, they need to sell it or they go bad. Shaman Aysan, you go ahead and evaluate. Umaychran Aysan, they have to sell immediately before they go bad. And Rafiza Amar Avime, so Rafiza Amar Avime, Maychran Aysan Shukah. You go ahead and you sell it on the market days. If the market is close in terms of time, or you don't have to travel to it, then you wait for the market because you can get better prices for the assignment. But if it's far away or long out, then you can't go ahead and do it. Rav Kana had in his hands the beer of Rav Misharshi B'Achiki, also who was the orphan Shaya Rigla. So I guess so he had it up until the regal, right? They waited until the regal to get a good price. So Amar Afa got enough of the Itza, even though someone went bad. I was able to go ahead and get a good price for it because during the holidays everyone was going ahead and buying this, and therefore, even though some was spoiled, it would make up for the profit. The other ones I was able to sell at a much higher price. Ravina Zuta Yasme Barachte. So Ravina had in his hands the beard of what's it called? Of Ravina, his nephew, or the son of his sister, Havi Liyade Nami Chamri. He also had his own wine.
Who was his son?
Ravina Zute. He was Yasma. He was Ravina Zuta was Ravina's nephew, and he was a Yasa. And in addition, he also had his own wine. So Havi Kamasik the Sikha. He wanted to go ahead and bring the Sikha. So can I go ahead and bring us the Sikha? Maybe something will happen to it. So also the coming to Rav Ashi. Can I go ahead and bring it together with mine? So right? Don't worry, if you treat it like yours, then it's not a question. In other words, since you're willing to risk your own collection to go ahead and travel to Sikra to sell it there for a better price, so too you can do this with the Yisraelis. Fine. Naya Mishnah. Mishnah says, Hamanas, a woman who does miyun, right? Woman who does miyun, that is a girl who was married off, mother,
As a cotton.
older brother as a cotton, and then refuses, right? We have machlokas as to at what point the father can do midoraisa. Midrabanan, we don't want the girls to be little orphans, so we allow the mother and older brother to go ahead and marry her off. So if the father's dead, right? So then, such a case, so we allow them to go ahead and marry her off. And then at some point she refuses the marriage. That's called a mamenes or bashnia, or one who was married to somebody, but they were related to him, a distant relative, a shnia. About islandess, or a woman who he thought he married a regular woman, and turns out she was always a ktana. She never physically matured. They don't get a ksuba, and Eddie, this is for you. V'loi peiros, and she doesn't get peiros, right? What's peiros referring to? The nichsei malug, right? But what does it really mean? As Rashi points out here, she doesn't get the peiros of nichsei malug. That's him. What she gets in return is that if she was captured, then he has to ransom her. That's in exchange for the peiros, and she doesn't get that. In other words, she doesn't get any of the Tanai Ksuba. All these three cases, she's on Mamenes, a Shnia, an islandess. She doesn't receive her 200 zuz for a Ksuba, V'loi peiros, and after being ransomed, right, which is an exchange for the peiros of the Nichsei Malug, V'loi mizonos, she doesn't get supported, V'loi blows, and not the clothing, a certain amount of clothing, right? And however, but if he knew that she was an islandess up front, then yesh la ksuba, there is no mekaftos, there was no issue there, and therefore she's a ksuba.
The case of the Mamenes, she's no longer married. She's already done miyun.
So she does miyun. Does she get a ksuba? Can she go back and say, you never gave me mizonos, you never did this?
She was captured.
Right. She was captured, and she goes back. I had to pay my own money. You owe me my money. I had to ransom myself. But now, amana the kohen gadol, grusha chalutza the kohen hedyot, or a amana, a widow who married a kohen gadol, or a divorcee, or one of the chalitza to a kohen hedyot, mamzeres in the sin of Israel, or a bas shel of sin of mamzer. All these cases are lavin, right? The mamzeres and the sin who married Israel. Yesh lan ksuba, they all have a ksuba, and Rashi explains why is that, because these women, their children are pasul kuna, right? They marry, there's a lav, so therefore they're pasul kuna, and or the pasul in terms of they carry the mamzeres or whatever it is. So there's already a reason for the women not to go ahead and do it. They're going to pasul their children. The husband, on the other hand, doesn't suffer as much. He himself doesn't get passled, right? That he doesn't, right? So he's not involved. So therefore, we want to penalize the husband and prevent him from doing this. So therefore, we say yesh lev ksuba. Because if he didn't have a ksuba, then he's basically has nothing to lose. And Rav says the Gemara. So Rav, just one quick machlokas. Rav Tani Ktana Yaitse Beget Ein La Ksuba. Let's say she's a Ktana, but she goes out. The guy divorces her. Says, you know what? Yaitse Beget Ein La Ksuba. She doesn't get a ksuba. The kol became a menace, and certainly a menace, because if he divorces her, they were never really married since she was a katana. It was not a real marriage, and therefore she's not considered to be a woman who's divorced, and therefore she doesn't have a ksuba, and certainly a woman who memenes doesn't get a ksuba. And Shmuel Tani memenes and a ksuba. Shmuel says no. Daf in the case of her Mishnah means she has a ksuba, but if she's yaitz beget, then if she's divorced, then yesh ksuba, then she has a ksuba. The Ozda Shmuel Tami Shmuel goes to Shitasa Damar Shmuel memenes.
Who would get the ksuba in that case? Would it be the family or her?
Yeah, I guess her right. She would have an apotropos, someone who would administrator who would oversee, I guess, her money, right? If she does miyun, then she doesn't get a ksuba. But if the husband says no, you're out of here, is divorced, then we do say she doesn't get a ksuba. Why? Because if she does miyun, it's like she was never married at all, and she's not puzzled to any of his brothers. The light pasim in a kuna, and she's also not considered a divorcee. Then later on, she wants to go ahead and marry Cohen. She was never married; she can marry Cohen. And yaitz beget, but she received the get. Then pasim in a achin. Then she's puzzled from the brothers or his brothers, and also pasim in a kuna, and also pasim in a kuna. She's considered to be a grusha. And furthermore, memenes ain't tzricha lahamtin. In case of a menace, she doesn't have to go ahead. She does mean she does not have to wait 3 months to go ahead and remarry. However, but when she's divorced as a katana, then she does have to go ahead and wait 3 months until she gets married. My Kamash one we'll see on Sunday Hashem at 6:15. Everyone have a wonderful Shabbos and a good night.